What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Beer Tree Brew Company, and they're headquartered in Johnson City, New York, and this is their Super Pacific, the wet hopped Triumph variant. So this is an American IPA that is brewed with wet hopped Triumph hops. It comes in at an absolutely hilarious 6.90210% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, this can is exactly 11 days old. So I'm super stoked for this beer for a couple of reasons. Number one, I have not reviewed a Beer Tree beer on the channel in close to a year and a half, which is absolutely unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. 100%. So I'm rectifying that today by reviewing this one. In addition to that, this is a wet hopped IPA, which honestly, it's wet hopped season, as the kids say. Actually, kids don't say that, but a lot of us beer nerds say that. Usually in late August until like early October, a lot of wet hopped beers will be released. Wet hopped beers are basically whole cone hops that are picked fresh, and typically they are used within 24 hours of them being picked, and it's awesome. The one not awesome thing is here in New York State, more specifically West New York area, you don't see a lot of breweries brew them for like commercial release and being packaged. A lot of them will do like small batches and release them on draft and whatnot. So it's awesome that Beer Tree has released one this year and I get a chance to try it. Now, as far as Triumph hops go, I can't say I'm really that familiar with them. I may have had them once or twice in a beer. I just don't remember. Their Super Pacific is a series of beers, or like I think they had a base and they did a bunch of different series of it. I think it's more like the West Coast realm. And I just love the 6.90210, so referencing the Beverly Hills zip code, but also probably the show. They got a little hang 10, surfing sign and whatnot as the logo. I'm here for it. I got the hashtag proper glassware. It's a Beer Tree glass with green font, green coloring, and that's what this beer is. So it's like super proper. This is like hashtag just incredibly proper glassware. Like, I don't know. We're going to give it a pour here, though. So let's get it into the glass and see what we got going on. This should be a clear beer. Like I said, I think it's more in the West Coast realm, but if not, it's just going to be like an old school American IPA. So I'm here for it. That pour looks awesome. Throw this over here. How does this beer look? Well, it looks absolutely gorgeous in the hashtag proper glassware. You can't get much more proper than this glassware. It looks fantastic. You can see my hands through my hands. Well, you can see my hands here, but you can see my hand through the other side. Has a beautiful orange, kind of honey orange color, but obviously crystal clear. Almost 2 fingers, finger and a half, almost 2 fingers of this off-white, super creamy looking head with a little bit of soap sudsy vibe. There is some slightly bigger bubbles that are there, but for the most part, it just looks awesome. I will turn it around so you can see it properly through the side here. It does have some chill haze. I'll bust out the contraband flashlight just to see. Yeah, you guys can see how clear that is. Throw it through the side here, but yeah, it has a beautiful clarity to it. Just looks awesome. Hold up to light. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to drink when we're talking about a wet hop beer. Let's get a nose. Ooh, that's interesting. Triumph hops, I don't even know. You know what? I'm going to look them up after I do this review because I don't have no idea what they're supposed to smell like or taste like. Citrus. Like, it has like an old school kind of hop realm. Yeah, it's like pithy white grapefruit, a little bit of sweet orange. There's this nice like earthiness, like a tomato stalk, tomato vine, garden-esque kind of feel to it. Yeah, earthy, slightly vegetal, but not like a hot burn, like just slightly vegetal. There's a little bit of like this bready kind of malt character here too, which is nice. This smells like an old school IPA. I'd say more American IPA than West Coast. It doesn't have like a big pine or like a floral. It's more earthy, a little bit of grassy and that like vegetal kind of garden, tomato, viney kind of hop character. A little bit of like an under-ripened like apricot too. It smells good. It smells kind of in the realm of an old school American IPA that just so happens to have wet hopped hops in them. So let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. Oh, that just took my palate for a ride. The level of bitterness on this is sensational. Oh, right away, this big resiny, just gripping the throat bitterness. I have not had that in a while. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. It's not going to be for everyone because this is not like a a fruit explosion, like so many of your IPAs are nowadays. This is really reminding me like old school, like, you know, you might get some citrus out of it, but it's really like dank, earthy, herbaceous, grassy. Body of this is nice, medium, touch over medium, almost 7%. Good stuff. The mouthfeel is an old school mouthfeel, moderate carbonation, crisp on the palate, smooth going down, simple. Body mouthfeel are really nice. The taste is, again, old school in a lot of respects, but I'm here for it. Forefront, bready, slightly caramel kind of malt, maybe a little bit of crackery, dives underneath the palate, hits again on the back. It has a little bit more of an oomph to the malt character that you see with IPAs nowadays, but that's kind of how a lot of old school American IPAs and West Coast IPAs were back in the day. The malt character was there, even though it was, you know, a lot of those, especially West Coast IPAs, were just absolute hot bombs. You still could taste the malt, and that's what's happening here. Forefront, pithy, rindy, bittering citrus, white grapefruit, orange, like pith, rind, peel. There's a little bit of even like a lemon peel, like a slight lemon peel, very citrus oriented, maybe even a slight like tangerine kind of like sweetness. Passes through the palate. I get a little bit of like a pear, and the only other hop I can think of that I got pear from was a Vista hops that I think are native to New York State. Last year, one of the beers I think I did with Beer Tree was a Vista hop one, and it was cool because I got like this nice, like sweet, almost like crisp pear, and I'm getting that a little bit here, just a smidge. But the citrus is the biggest component. Again, underripened apricot, you could say peach, nectarine, a little bit of stone fruit, but then it transitions by halfway through the palate into that huge kind of hop explosion of something that's a bit different, earthy, dank, herbaceous, grassy, tomato stock, tomato vine, a touch of floral. Not really pine for me. It's like everything else other than pine, which is kind of wild. Look at that fucking glass lacing. 11 days old, looking fantastic. Firmly dry with a moderate to a touch over moderate bitterness, almost a full-on bitterness. This is not, you know, gripping me as, say, like an old school, like, name a West Coast IPA, like Green Flash Palate Wrecker, or 1,000 IBUs from Mikkeller. It doesn't have that kind of level of bitterness, but for a beer nowadays, this is pretty bitter. This is moderately touch over moderately bitter for sure. Leans way more dry and bitter than sweet. There isn't a ton of sweetness here. Outside of that, like slightly sweet, like bready, caramel, crackery malt, maybe even a touch of honey. It's not anything remotely sweet. Yes, again, almost 7%. I can tell it's kind of like flavors like this you're not going to get from like a 5% beer. Would I say 7? Probably more like 6, 6.5, but I could see 7. Really tasty. There's almost two in the tip of the tongue that I'm talking about citrus, and like lemon and citrus. You know, lemon, grapefruit. That's almost like a slight tartness, and not like this beer's off. Like sometimes I get that with the citrus character from the hops, like just a slight kiss of tartness, like a juicy tartness right at the forefront. This is fucking real good. But I'll tell you right now, there's going to be people who would pick this up and, you know, on tap, give it a fucking, 2.5 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 and be like, oh, it's too bitter. It has no fruit or whatever. I can see that. Hey, it doesn't. But if you pick up this beer, knowing into it, I think they may have mentioned on like Instagram it's a West Coast IPA or just American IPA. If you see American IPA and it looks like this, more often than not, it's going to have a big bitterness. It's not going to be over the top with like the fruit character from the hops. So I'm okay with what this beer is. I'm actually more than okay. I'm very, very happy about it. And I'm just happy I got another wet hopped beer of any sort. So wet hopped, Super Pacific, the wet hopped Triumph variant. I'm going to give this a straight 4.25 out of 5. This is fucking delicious. Yeah, I'm real excited. If you are in New York State and you can get Beer Tree, or you're even out of New York State and can get Beer Tree, do it. Get this ASAP. I hope I'll be able to post this in a couple weeks after reviewing this one, so when you get it, it's still under a month old, but this is super fresh, just delicious. Seek this one out. Price point, I don't remember what I paid for it. Bought it at Brewed and Bottled, Loose in New York. Shout out to Chris over there. Yes, Harry. Shout him out again. Always mention you in a review when I shout out Chris now at this point. You did it to yourself, Harry. No, I don't know. But I think I paid like $4 to $5 for this can. I would assume at the brewery probably $16 to $18 for a pack. It's a wet hopped beer. Might be a little bit more expensive because of that, but I would pay easily $5 for a can of this. It's very tasty, and you don't see wet hop beers as much in New York State as you do, like on the West Coast. And then availability is Beer Tree, definitely throughout New York State. I don't know if they have a website you can ship from. I don't know if they get that far out of New York State. I know they have gotten out of New York State in the past. You might find them a Halftime Beverage. You might see them on Tavor, places like that. But I don't really know. Check out their website. See if they have a beer finder. If not, hopefully you can find this one. Now, let me look up Triumph Hops. Yeah, it's not a super long review. So let me look up Triumph Hops real quick. Here we go. Triumph Hops. Yakima Valley. Let's see what they say about it. These are the T90 pellets. Adding orange flavor to your beer. All right. So their parents are East Kent Golden's Brewer's Gold, Nugget, and Hallertauer Mittelfru. Bright aromas of orange, lime, and peach. I definitely got the orange and the lime. More grapefruit than that. Peach, I said more apricot and nectarine. I'm okay with it. More delicate than other fruit forward varieties, but still robust enough to be in a wide range of styles. So kind of generic. I don't see anything about all like that tomato stalk, tomato vine, earthy vegetal thing, but that's kind of what I'm getting, maybe because they are wet hop and it's super fresh. Maybe the combination of the two, that's what I got. So anyway, I'm shutting this one down. If you've had this one before, or any other variant from Super Pacific, post in the comment section. Here's another one. If you've had a wet hop beer recently, let me know what you had, or what is your favorite wet hop beer of all time? One of mine is probably the Fatheads Wet Hop Headhunter. That beer is fantastic. No questions asked. Fantastic. Anyway, shutting this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. It's definitely not going to be another year and a half until I review another Beer Tree beer. Let's just say that. To the next one. Cheers.